On today's show, we're going to try something different. We're going to run a 2 episode series where me and my co host here, will be interviewing each other on how we use AI. Things are going to get personal. If you want to know more about that, make sure to stay tuned. Today, it's my turn to ask the questions. I'm Daniel,
I'm Matheus.
and this is the Human AI Experience.
Okay.
So, are you ready?
Yes, yes. I'm really excited for this.
Yeah, so let's just talk a bit more in general, right? When did you first start using AI?
So I started using AI when they launched ChatGPT. I think it was in December of 2022. And the funny fact is that they launched it I think in October. And then I remember I was in your house for the Christmas Eve, and then we were playing with that. So when I saw the potential of the tool, I started using it and I got like kind of passionate. I was since then I'm using like almost every day. So that's something funny about ChatGPT and how I started using it.
So you're basically using every day now.
Yes, that's how I'm using it. And actually I use for any task that I need to do. So for example, if I need to write an email, I always double check it with ChatGPT. I always ask if it's clear enough. For example, do you understand what I'm saying? I ask the ChatGPT, and he always give me like a full understanding what I was written down, and also give me topics about what I'm talking, so I can double check, if I'm doing the right thing, if I'm saying what I'm wanna say. So it's a funny thing. So many of my tasks use ChatGPT, So to write emails, to write messages, to respond people, to double check my work if I'm writing down stuff. So that's how I use it.
What would you say is the biggest benefit you get from using AI? And of course, we would like to also know what are the tools. Can you just name a few? Of course, we ChatGPT is one of them, maybe the most used one.
Yeah.
But what are the others?
Yeah, I tried many of them. Like I tried Gemini, I tried Claude, I tried DeepSeek. But to be honest, I think each one of them they are different. Like for example, Gemini is something that is a bit more technical, let's say, and a bit more like straightforward. So I didn't want something like that. I wanted something that I interpret better. So I think ChatGPT does this work more in a way that I like. So you can always ask like be a bit more informal, so they can change a little bit the tone of voice, what is written down. So I prefer ChatGPT from the others, because of this. And you can always train your own models, so that's an interesting thing that I like about ChatGPT.
Yeah, you can have your own custom GPT, right?
Yeah, yeah, and I even downloaded DeepSeek in my computer, so I tried using it a little bit. But I don't think I think it's more marketing that is more powerful than ChatGPT. I think that they're kind of the same. They do this kind of the same job. So that's one of the things that I realize. And I tested through like Stable Diffusion, like long time ago. I was experimenting Stable Diffusion, so I created some images. So it was, and of course I tried like MidJourney. I tried Leonardo.ai,
Wasn't
Luma
Leonardo
AI.
wasn't Leonardo acquired by Canva?
Yeah, yeah, I think so. I think they were acquired by Canva, and they're really good. I think after MidJourney, they're the best one like that I tried until now. I want to try now the Goku, the new open source model, like video model from China. It's still in my list, and Flux is another tool that I want to use it, but I haven't tried it yet.
So, just to move a bit more into architecture and design, right? So, when did you first start experimenting with AI in architecture?
I think was in the beginning of in the end of 23. I think in 24, that period, like in the New Year's, I downloaded like Stable Diffusion. I was like really into testing and experimenting, like how can I get some benefits, from the AI, and especially with rendering. So I tested like Stable Diffusion, like using some pre-done models, for example, 3D models that are without any kind of texture, like just simple white volumes, and testing how AI could help me to put some materials and experimenting. It was a really interesting experimentation. I feel there is so much room to improve still, but it's already getting really good. It's already and I like to follow some people that are using it like in a daily basis in developing tools for that, for architecture. And some offices they are using a really good way, so they already have a good a good development, on the tools.
They're basically training these models with their previous work, right? And then at least it
Exactly,
learns a
exactly.
little bit of the style of the
Style.
studio or the
Yeah.
architectural company, right? And so it kind of follows a little bit that, at least in I guess a lot is used in the development or the brainstorm process, right? Pre,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It can be used in both sides. For example, if you have an idea, just put it there, and then it creates something that you can take some ideas out of it. And I have seen many different usages. For example, in the concept part of the design, so using to have ideas, so you just put some random stuff and then see what comes out of it. And I have seen like in the post production, you already have some volumes and renders, and then you just like take that render, like this kind of like raw render, let's say, and then you scale up, so you create a super realistic photo, like, which is amazing. Like, so I can see even in the middle of the design and like some a lot of advantages of using AI, so you can test the different materials, you can test different solutions, you can see how it's going like super quickly. For example, if you want to use steel or wood, you can easily change that on AI instead of modeling the wood and modeling the steel. So that's the good things that I can see in the architecture for the next couple of years.
so what are the tools that architects are using now to generate designs, and which ones do you think are most useful for people to learn, for example, if they are getting into architecture today?
Yeah, I think everything started with Stable Diffusion. So Stable Diffusion was the first one that you could like develop your own LoRa. This putting your database inside of the AI and creating your own styles and your own models. And now I see that Flux is taking that part. I don't know if you heard about Flux, but it's a really good tool. I recommend people to look at after that, because it's for architecture. I think it's the best tool right now, and people are training their own AIs, and you can follow some people on LinkedIn, especially on LinkedIn, because I see a lot of people like experimenting and talking about the Flux and how to use it and how to develop your own LoRa, your own tool. So that's what I recommend. And in terms of design itself, there's a lot of tools for Rhino. Rhino is a good tool that you can program, and like you have some small softwares inside of the software now. So you can create uh, like sun analysis automatically. You can create like rain analysis, like many different natural natural resources analysis, let's say. And then inside of this you can create different variations of AIs. For example, you can create a tool that can create a city automatically or heights of buildings automatically. So this kind of stuff, they already exist and they're just improving on Rhino. So Rhino is another tool that I recommend people to use it, and that's what I see.
We can try to put it in the show notes. These tools. So, what do you
Yeah.
see is the biggest challenge of integrating AI into the architectural workflow?
Yeah, I think the biggest challenges are the people, because when you use one tool, like, and you need to dive deep in architecture. I think many professions, but talking about architecture, like many people use it, like for example AutoCAD for 20 years, 30 years, so people are so used to that tool that it's hard to change, for a new tool. So when Revit was popping up, there's still people using AutoCAD, and they didn't change to another program. So I feel the challenge is to convince people that they need to move towards this direction of AI, because it will make your work easier. I think that's the biggest challenge, to change the industry that is like, okay, I did that for my entire life, So why do I need to change to a new tool? So I think convincing people is the biggest challenge, and even companies, because when you talk about new softwares, you need to invest, So the companies need to pay for that tool, and then they need to train everyone to use it. So that's the biggest challenge that I see in the architecture industry, and about people itself. I feel that it's kind of the same, like people tend to go always to the same path that you always took, So um, and then yeah, so I think that's the challenges that we're facing right now already.
I want to move a little bit now into podcasting, which is basically what we're doing here. But because
Yeah,
you're doing a lot of the production of the podcast, basically, and I just want to tap into
yeah.
how AI is actually helping. So,
Yeah.
how AI has impacted your workflow as a podcast host?
Yeah, many different things actually, because we do the scripts. The scripts are supported by ChatGPT, so we always like put a lot of information, and even though we read the all the material before we do the script, we always like ask ChatGPT to give their own point of view, So we always combine ChatGPT and our own mindsets into the script. So I think this is one way of doing it. And then to edit the videos, we use an AI tool that helps a lot in the edition. So, for example, if you are editing a normal video, even a 30-minute video might take like 4 hours or 6 hours to edit. Using these AI tools, we can do that in like 1 hour or 1 hour and a half. So it decreases a lot the amount of time spent on the task. So the reels and shorts that you can see every day in our social media, they are created by an AI edit tool. So we ask this edit tool to create these sections of the podcast that we are doing. So it just cut it for us, and then we evaluate it, and then we release online. So that's the process. And after generating that, we always downloaded the all the transcripts, and using ChatGPT, we created the social media um, titles and the social media descriptions of every video. So that's how we do it. So that's how all this podcast is run.
And I guess if it wasn't for how these tools help us, I don't think we will be able to pull this off because it would just
Exactly.
it's just so much time and effort that you need. If we didn't honestly, if we didn't have AI to help, it would it would be tough to do this. So
Yeah, definitely. Especially editing. Editing takes so much time because you need to. There's so many variants, so many things that you need to add and cut, So and these tools they help us a lot. Like they transcript all the text, so we can edit through the text, so we can see where are the gaps, where are the things that we need to cut it down. So it's a really good tool.
and the name of the tool is Descript, and we can put it in the show notes
Yeah,
if you want to use it in case
yeah, that's a good
you
one.
want to do a podcast. Yeah.
Yeah.
So last question in regards to podcasting. Do you think AI generated audio translations can make podcasts more accessible globally?
Yeah, I think so. I think so. I think YouTube is developing a tool that already changed the audio, so you can um, watch a video in your own language. So I think that's the future. I always think that Brazil has so many brilliant minds, but the brilliant minds are like all in Portuguese, so they are all to Portuguese speakers. So we have so many amazing authors, from books, many different genres of books, but they never leave the country. So I feel that now it's gonna democratize these brilliant minds, so they can be recognized worldwide. I think that's something that we need to do, and the same for other countries. I imagine that there's so many brilliant minds in Africa, for example, but we never get to reach them, because they are all hiding in the same country, and speaking their own language. So democratizing this type of content will be amazing to see, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, basically, if you don't speak English, you're kind of limited to the country you are in, and then those tools can basically democratize the content for yeah. It will basically spread to audiences that haven't had that opportunity before, right?
Yeah, exactly. And that's why we do the podcast in English, because then we reach more people than if we do it only in Portuguese. For example, we are both Portuguese speakers, so but it doesn't make sense to do it in Portuguese. So
Agreed. Um, just a few questions in regards to AI and digital marketing, because you're also doing some of our ads and stuff. So,
yeah,
how do you see AI is transforming digital marketing strategies today?
in many different ways. Like I feel that nowadays you can create your own digital influencer. Like it's possible to do it. It's still a little bit fake. You can actually see there's something's different, but in the meantime, I think it's gonna be so real that we cannot distinguish who is real and who is AI generated. So this is one way that I see marketing going towards. So we're always gonna be seeing like beautiful people like with super good speaking skills. So it's gonna be hard to compete with these people because we're gonna see like the best of the best. Like good looking people with really good skills in speaking, like saying good things for us. So it might be something that it's gonna be hard to compete, and all the content generated might be created by LLMs, or even other tools that can do that. So I see that the digital marketing is going to become kind of a,
A shit show.
a zo- yeah, shit show, definitely.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I don't know. I'm curious to see, but in another way, it's a we already have tools. For example, ChatGPT, it helps a lot to build the foundations of market or the copywriting part. It gives a really good average average thing. So of course it's not something outstanding and something that only genius can do it, but a average person can do what generated by AI. So the AI can already help us in doing emails or ads, text for ads and descriptions and stuff like that. So
It kind of helps democratize that as well, right? It just gives more people the
definitely,
capacity to do more, or things that they couldn't do it before because they didn't have the technical skills.
yeah.
Do you think?
And even the time,
Yep.
and even the time, if you don't have time to work on those things, maybe these tools can help you to move faster.
Yeah. Do you see AI replacing human creativity in marketing, or it's just a supportive tool?
For now, I think it's just a supportive tool. It's hard to predict the future because when we start 2025, we have an episode actually predicting what's gonna be, and in less than a month, everything changed. Like we have like a super open source model like from China that kind of break the whole market, and now we have another one that is Goku. I want to test
It's
that
the
still.
video one from
So
is it Alibaba? No.
yeah, I think so. I think so. And so all of these new tools, they are evolving every day. We have a new thing happening, like in the AI world. So for now, I think it's just a tool to support us. But at some point, I don't know, maybe it can create some intelligence that we is gonna do something, the things like automatically. So I don't know. For now, I believe it's a supporting tool.
So
Yeah,
to wrap up, I want to go back to the future of AI in architecture. So,
yeah.
what excites you the most about AI's potential in the architecture field?
Uh, I think the first thing is that it can increase the pace, that you do stuff in architecture. Because nowadays architecture is still like a slow process, like you start like in, for example, if you start today, maybe in 2030 you're gonna build something, because there's a lot of processes until you have all the projects done and everything is like, the municipality said okay, you can do it, and then we get the resources. So all this process is kind of slow, they need some planning. So if you make it in a fast way, it's a good thing. I think AI can help us in the process, of doing and selling stuff, and even doing the projects. There's some tools that they already arrange parking lots and other stuff. Even buildings, like you can, if you arrange the space, it already changed the size of the rooms, the bathrooms, and everything inside of the houses. So these tools, they're gonna help us to be more fast, in architecture, and that's what excites me with this process.
What do you think is the biggest misconception about AI in architecture?
I doubt of people thinking that we're not gonna be replaceable. I think people just say like, it's just a tool. It's just is something that is temporary. It's kind of these bubbles and stuff like that. I think people that disbelieve the potential of AI, they're the biggest risk. They are putting themselves at risk. To be honest, that's what I see is the biggest misconception.
And now, just I know it's hard to predict the future, but instead of what do you think it's going to happen, what would you like that it would happen in AI in architecture in the next 5 years? What do you, if we will have to choose which way this the field is evolving by using AI, what would you like to have that you don't have today?
Yeah, I think more integration between the tools. For example, if I'm doing a rendering, it will be nice if it was already attached to this software. So I don't need to take it out, rendering the stuff and then putting on another software. This kind of integrations, I believe it would be amazing to have, this kind of stuff. And talking about the scenario of architecture, nowadays we have really big companies, with like 500 people, 600 people, 1,000 people working in architecture. And what I see, in my opinion, I think they're gonna shrink a little bit because there's there will be no longer these people will be no longer necessary. I don't know how to express that, but I think they're gonna lay off a lot of people, which would be bad. What I imagine in a scenario like that is that we're gonna have an increase of small offices, like 3 people, 5 people doing kind of big stuff, because they will be able to do that with tools that are gonna be created or they're already here and in the market. So that's what I'm seeing for the next 5 years.
Awesome. Interesting. It's an interesting take.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. It was an experiment to just interview you, but it's fun. It's been fun.
Yeah.
But
I hope people don't cancel me for any.
yeah, in the architecture, yeah, maybe they will. Yeah, the ones that cannot
Yeah.
accept that they might be replaceable.
Yeah.
But cool. Yeah, thanks.
Nice.
It was a nice experiment, and that's it. That's all the questions that I had. So
Yeah.
let's wrap up. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed the show, please consider leaving a review on Apple Podcasts. It's free and helps us a lot. This way, it can help us also reach new listeners. Oh, and if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform to stay up to date on our latest episodes. If you have any questions for us, reach out to us at hello@humanaixp.com or connect with us on Instagram. Thanks for listening. See you next week.